Hi everyone, Hannah here. So in this tutorial video, we are prepping our junk journal using the May box. We're going with a beach theme for this month, and I am going to show you how I put together my pages and gather my ephemera for the junk journal. And I like to do everything almost like an assembly line, because I feel like I'm getting further down the road on my journal. So I wanted to go through the pages first. These are the journaling cards, and they're all from either scans of vintage posters, or they're inspired by vintage imagery, and I just absolutely love them. And then we've got this page of San Francisco. You might remember this page from our May box back in 2021, 2 years ago. A lot of these images I have pulled from that collection. It was one of my favorite collections, just a very relaxed, casual beach vibes. Scenery, vintage imagery. I just absolutely loved that collection. And so I just wanted to bring that collection back to life. I'm loving this sailboat page, and of course it coordinates with the page behind it. This page here, you can use it as is. I will probably cut out the different elements of the page and just use it as ephemera pieces. Might even take the middle part here and make some tags out of it, or it can be a background for another picture. And then we've got that back page to coordinate. Now this page here has been one of my favorite pages, and if you'll notice, I snuck it in last year's French Riviera collection, and I usually try to sneak it in everywhere I can on a beach themed collection. So it was actually a very hard page for me to create, and I finally got it the way I liked it, and so it's just been one of my favorite pages. Just the flow of it, the color of it, I just love it. And this page, I love the blue. It just reminds me of these beautiful blue waters, just waves rushing in, just, the full, beach themed effect. So I just absolutely love it. And this page here, I love the hot air balloon. My great aunt, she used to go up in a hot air balloon quite often. She would go to different shows and, fire up the hot air balloon and go up in it, and it was just really fun. She doesn't do it anymore. She's up in her 80s, so she's definitely retired from that, but those were a lot of fun memories. And then of course we've got our 5 tea-dyed pages. I love having the tea-dyed pages in the junk journal boxes. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the edges off of my pages. I'm using scissors on the first part, but then I have a paper cutter, so I just cut them all at one time to save time. So I've got all my pages cut down, and what I'm going to do next is to start inking the edges around of some pages don't need it, some do. So I've got my ink here, and I'm gonna just kind of go at it. So I think on the cards, just to kind of go around, mostly on the back. I mean, I might end up gluing them down to where you can't even see it. I just don't know yet. So I just want to go ahead and prepare for it. Add a little bit in the middle as well, so the page looks weathered, distressed, and I'm just applying it very, very softly because I don't want it to leave the rings of our sponge here. So we've got that page. That looks really good. Now this one has the white border, so I'll definitely go around it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I don't have to have a dark edge. I just want something to look a little weathered, a little worn. Okay, so just applied a little bit. And the same with this one from Venice. Okay, and this one doesn't need it on the front, so I'm going to just do it on the back. Okay, and so this one needs it on the sides, so I'm going to go ahead and just add it on the sides here. And I'm going to do it on the back as well. Sometimes what I like to make in my journals is fold outs. And so that way I can utilize as much of every piece of ephemera, every part of my journal that I can. And, you know, so I like to put a piece of washi tape along the side of it, and it folds out. And then you can have a little journaling spot or glue a picture down, you know, however you want it to do that. Okay. I just absolutely love that picture. I think it's one of my favorite. And I'm just applying very, very lightly because, again, I don't want you to be able to see the rings. Okay, so we've got all of these done and ready for use. So my video shut off unexpectedly. I'm not sure. Well, I know that I'm doing it from my iPhone, and it's got a lot of stuff on there. So I think that's some of the issue. So anyway, I'm going to just keep folding the papers. I think where it cut off might have been where I was inking the edges of the journaling cards. And so I folded the tea-dyed papers in half, and now I'm folding these in half as well. But I'm leaving out this page because I think I'm going to use it for the cover. I just really, really like it. So this one I'm not going to fold because I might actually cut up the different components of the paper. So, and even if I decide on some of these pages to not use in the journal and I want to cut it up, it's already, you know, folded in half to the width of all the other pages. So that way I'll know, you know, I can just cut, you know, if I wanted to cut the sailboat out, I can just cut it right across and it's going to fit on one of my, you know, pages, on one of my tea-dyed pages. And, you know, be kind of like a borderless, you know, from the edge to the edge there. And this, I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. I might use it as a page, or I might use it as like a border, you know, to glue something on. So, but I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in half anyway. I can always change things up a little bit later. Let's see, so I got this page. Okay, now I'm going to go grab some book pages. I just remembered some pages that I want to use, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those real quick. Okay, so I've got my book pages here. So these are the pages that y'all will receive in your box for May. We've got some pages from, this is a Walt Disney book, and it has all different stories. So I saved ones that kind of had to do with the sea for summer. So I'm just using a couple of those. You'll get a couple of those as well. We've also got, this is from I believe 1975, or I think 1970s, Wait for What Will Come. It was a deal, it was like 3 books in one, romance novels from the 70s. And so this is Wait for What Will Come. And then this is from the Reader's Digest. I still have, it was a pretty good sized book, so I still have some of the pages from that. And we didn't put that in April's box, so I thought, well, we'll put it in May's box. Either way, if you're getting vintage pages, you know, it's vintage pages, right? So, so anyway, now these smaller pages, I think I'm just going to sit them aside because I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with them. And I'm not going to ink the edges of them because I might tear off strips and then ink around the edges of those strips. So now these pages, I think I will go ahead and ink around the edges. Turn it over and do it from this side as well. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera here. Go ahead and see. Go ahead and fold that in half. And two, I like that when you have different size pages and you want to fold them in half, you know, I like how this one is smaller than this page. I like the difference in that. So I have found some more ephemera and different papers that I want to put in my journal. Some of these items you will receive in your May journal box, such as this. So I'm just going to kind of put everything aside, and I'll bring everything over as I want it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half, and this could be one of the pages. I'm going to just kind of sit everything on top. because it came off of a piano scrolls, so I want it to kind of lay flat. So I'm going to do that. And then I've got some glass seam. Just little tidbits here. And I think on this I might go ahead and ink it up a little bit. I love the texture of glassine paper, and of course I love the sound. And so I think it's really fun to use in your kids. And I like the translucent effect, you know, because it's kind of see-through. And I think it just has a lot of fun, interactive elements going for it. And so I just love putting it in my journals. So then in your kit you'll also receive a card and an envelope. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up the edges of the card. I just want to go ahead and take the time now to distress everything, and I don't have to do it later. I can just jump right in on embellishing. I find it very relaxing to just sit and ink stuff. So hopefully you do too. It's nice whenever you can take the time. Now this I'm not going to ink, it's already brown. So, and this was inside of a book cover. Let me see how tall this is. I just want to measure it up with these other pages. Okay. And I like how it has some handwriting on it. I didn't write that, someone else did. I had bought this as a used book. Not exactly sure, you know, where I bought it or even which book it came from. You know, could have been a cookbook. There for a while I was buying a bunch of cookbooks. I like to do that at different seasons. Some of y'all might remember that in, can't remember if it was June of 2019 or June of 2020, I had put some like summer themed recipes in the junk journal boxes, and I thought that would be kind of fun. And then usually around Thanksgiving I put some different recipes in there of different meals, you know, at Thanksgiving. Alright, so we got that page done. And then I just took out a couple of book pages from an old quilting book. I love quilting books, just because of all the different pictures that are in it and the way everything's staggered. You know, the text, the pictures, just different things. I just absolutely love it. Alright, so I'm just going to finish up inking some pages. The other elements that I have is some pattern paper and pattern instructions, as well as some watercolor paper. I'm going to tear that up and fold it in half. This is 300 series watercolor paper, really nice, thick, because I want to do some mixed media in my journal. So I have just tore my watercolor paper, and I went ahead and just tore it down like this because I want it to have a rough edge. Now what I'm going to do on the rest is just distress it. You might have, you know, a Tim Holtz edge distresser, or you can just use some good old scissors, you know, and it just really helps to, you know, just kind of distress the edges a little bit. Now this has a little bit of glue, so I might actually just trim a little bit of that off, and then I can distress the edges. Okay. I guess there wasn't much glue on that side because I was able to distress it better. And then I made it a little bit smaller than one of these pages because I want different sizes of paper, just because it makes it more interesting to the eye. And then on this, what I'm going to do, let's see, is it this one? Yeah. So this one, what I thought I would do to kind of give you an idea, let's see, maybe on a shorter page, you know, something like this, it'll have like a flip over, you know, like it'll all be stitched in the signature, but, you know, I could do it like that, or I could just do it like that. Actually, I think it would be better like that. Yes, that way the edges don't get too bent up. And then with the pattern paper, I thought I would do the same thing, but I'm going to adhere it to maybe some paper, maybe, you know, put this on the edge of it or something, because if I sew this into the signature, it can easily be ripped out. So I'll definitely want to glue it to something, you know, so that it doesn't rip out as easy. You know, I could fold this in half and just glue it to the edge or something like that, or just glue the whole thing to a piece of paper. So now I'm going to put together 3 signatures, and I kind of like to make piles and just grab pages from each pile for a part of my 3 signatures. Most of my journals, I just do, if it's like a soft bound book, I just do the 1 signature, and if it's a hard bound book, you know, like a hard book cover, then I usually do 2 signatures. But I thought on this one I would do the 3 signatures. So I decided on this page, I'm not going to put it into the book. Instead, I want to cut it up and use it as some embellishments in the book. So the first thing that I'm making is the little corner pockets. So just cutting a strip, folding it in half, and then going to cut from one corner to the next. And that's going to make our pockets. And then I had went ahead and cut out some of the vellum as well as the die cuts on the paper. So here's the paper die cuts along with this piece and this piece. So now I'm just going to go ahead and glue the die cuts down to the pocket. You know, I just like to have a little pop of something interesting to look at. So the next thing I'm going to make is an overhang. I guess that's what you call it. And it's where part of it will be on one page and then it'll be folded over onto the next page. So I'm just going to line it up with one of the tea-dyed pages so I can kind of get an idea of how wide it needs to be. And you can just trim off any extra. And I've got this really neat little punch that I'm going to use, you know, to change the edges. And I really like how that turned out. Yeah, I really like that. That's nice. So I think the image here at the bottom on the page that I set aside, I think that's going to look really nice. And I can glue that or sew that on, and then it can be a pocket on top of the overhang. So I'm just going to rough up the edges with my scissors and then ink around the edges as well. All right, I think I'm going to just take some more images from this page. thought on maybe on the inside of one of the pages to glue it or sew it. I think I'll just sew it. But you could glue it if you don't have a sewing machine or you don't feel like messing with one. You can just, you know, just glue it down. So what I'll do is like on the inside, you know, do something like that and just glue or sew right here. And then you can just put stuff right in there. I can make like a little tuck spot. Just sew it here and, you know, kind of have some extra thread. Do something like that. And again, if you're not sewing, you can just take some extra thread and just glue it down. I've done that plenty of times. But I've got this punch out here. I don't even know if I've ever used it. I don't know. Let me see about the little piece here that we made. I might want to, I mean, you can't really tell what it is, but it's just like, it's just a little piece of something. Make great little tabs. So I cut these die cuts out of the paper, not the vellum, just the paper, and I thought I would staple them together and then glue the little tab piece on it and just tuck that right behind our first little piece that we cut out. So now I'm going to glue the tab onto our cluster, and it will make it easier to pull out from behind our tuck spot. I forgot to ink the edges of the little white piece, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because I really like having contrast from the white to the darker edges around. And then of course I'll you know, dab my sponge kind of in the middle just to distress it in the middle too. In our next video, we will dive in and create only ephemera for each of our signatures, and depending on how long each video is, it might be a video series where each video is just, you know, each signature. So because I definitely want to spend time in doing this and just really make great content for y'all to watch. If you have any questions, if there are any you know, techniques or tips that you have, things that you want to see in the next video, go ahead and let me know. Thank you so much for watching.